live. Welcome, everybody, back to the Eric and Linda live show here from Workvine 209. I'm Eric.
And I'm Linda. Welcome, everyone, to our live show. We're coming out of Tracy, California. We're a co-working facility, and we have a fall special that's going on right now, and I could pull it up because I know how to do it myself.
Yeah.
And so check it out. Anyhow, we have a wonderful guest today, and Eric, let's see. There we go.
All right.
And I am going to have Eric introduce her. She is just a wealth of knowledge. Oh, there I go again. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I think she's going to do the introductions from now on.
No, I'm not.
But so, yeah, this young lady, may I say, is phenomenal in the nonprofit industry. If you are looking to start a nonprofit, grow a nonprofit, you need a grant writer, you need training for your staff, whatever you need in this industry, she has it. She's been doing it for about 13 years, and we're going to bring her on, Trina McKie. Hey, Trina. How you doing? Hey.
Awesome. What a great introduction. Thanks, Eric and Linda.
You're welcome. Thank you for being part of our show. And we know and we introduce you as a nonprofit professional. Can you share a little bit about how you got started in that industry?
Absolutely. I want to say that probably it started once I learned that the area of financial management, I was studying finance and accounting in college. And I noticed that a lot of the textbooks had just a footnote about charitable organizations or a footnote about nonprofits. And I just wanted to learn more. And through the years, I later got a chance to work with an executive director of a nonprofit. And I was wondering, where do they get their money from? You know, because I was in college studying accounting and finance and economics, and you're learning about all of these concepts as they relate to commercial businesses. And here it is, a person who's an executive director, getting a full-time salary, have a full staff, and I'm wondering, where do they get their money from? And that's when I learned about grants. And the more that I delved into it, that's how I started learning about nonprofits, and just my inquisitive mind carried me along.
You know, we have a nonprofit too. It's you need to, and we've been around since 2001. And you know, I asked myself the same question, like, Eric, where do we get the money from? But you know, it takes a lot of work to run a nonprofit and to get the funding. I mean, it is helpful that there are grants, but you have to work hard for that grant. I mean, you think that it's free selling after you write the grant and then you get accepted. It's like almost a lottery when you do get the grant. And then it's the reporting and the keeping up and, you know, the scope of work and, you know, and the keeping track of the funding. And so it is a lot of work. And I know you have helped me personally. I mean, you were a godsend when we found you. I don't even remember how we found you, but we found you maybe about 6 years ago. And you cleaned up my nonprofit, and now, you know, it runs smoothly. And you have something that offers nonprofits a yearly maintenance. And, you know, I definitely take advantage of that. But more importantly, I really appreciated all the coaching sessions that I've had with you, because it was like therapy.
Thank you, Trina.
Eric would say, when I would be frustrated with, the nonprofit and the bumps that we've hit, he'd always ask me, "Hey, did you talk to Trina? Like, maybe you need to talk to Trina, Linda." So I get to say this publicly. Thank you so much for all that you
Yes.
have done for You Need To. And, we just love the work that you've done with us, that we like tell everybody about you, because you're like a library full of knowledge, and you're like a therapist too. So
Yeah.
Well, you're
So,
welcome. It's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. It really is.
so I'm going to jump right in, right? This is the big question that a lot of people have. They're always asking, like, how do you start a nonprofit? So maybe you can give some bullet points or some value to those who are looking to start a nonprofit, and maybe even talk about why.
True. And so probably, the first step was starting. So let's first start with the steps, and then we'll kind of look at, what you should consider before starting one. So the main step starts with the Secretary of State. So you want to file with the Secretary of State, and the document that you want to file with the Secretary of State is the Articles of Incorporation. And you want to make sure that you choose the correct one, because there are three legal types of nonprofits. There's the public benefit, the mutual benefit, and the religious. The public benefit are the ones that most of us are, the public charities, like the big brothers, like the after school programs, the Boys and Girls Club, Girl Scouts, that sort of thing. Then we have the mutual benefit, which are more like the Chamber of Commerce, the Homeowners Association, credit, that sort of thing.
Can you hear me, Trina? I'm not sure. You're
And
froze up.
then a religious organization.
Right. Nice.
Nonprofit is where churches and other places of worship.
Nice. So I'm not sure if you can hear me. You're froze on my end, and I am by myself. For some reason, everybody got kicked off, but we were right in the middle of talking about how to start a nonprofit with Trina McKie. And it looks like Trina is on her way back in, and she's
Okay,
back.
great. I'm back. Hi.
Yeah, yeah, you got a little choppy, but I know you were talking, speaking a little bit about the difference between the three nonprofits
Yeah.
types.
So we've got the public benefit, which are the ones that we're most familiar with, like the after school programs, the community centers. That's the public benefit nonprofits.
Okay.
Then there's the mutual benefit, and that's where the ones like the Chamber of Commerce, the homeowners associations, the credit unions would fall under. And then
Okay.
last but not least, you have the religious corporations. And the religious would be churches and other places of worship.
Nice.
Okay, so when you file a nonprofit organization, you want to file the articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State. You want to apply for and receive the employer identification number through the IRS.
mhm.
Then, so at that point, the nonprofit is formed. It is a legal entity at that point. You can then choose to apply to become a 501c3 or 501c6, and that goes through the IRS. But that's optional. And I always want to let people know that that is optional. You can certainly operate a nonprofit without that extra sort of privilege and responsibility. And then last but not least, you want to apply to become state tax exempt. So, like here in California, you want to make sure that your nonprofit doesn't have to pay the corporate taxes. So you want to apply to be exempt from that. But those are the main steps to form a nonprofit organization. Easy breezy.
Yeah, if you have MPLI, right? Yeah, that's really good. So those of you who are always or ever looking to start any type of nonprofit, MPLI would be your resource. So what type of resources do you offer?
We offer the nonprofit formation services, which is just the steps that I just described. We actually do that for and with the nonprofit organization, helping them to figure that out and helping to complete that paperwork for them. So we have that service. We also have the annual compliance service. And the annual compliance service are those making sure that the nonprofit stays on top of the paperwork that is required to to be in good status with the IRS, the Secretary of State, that sort of thing. So we have
Okay,
those two services. Mhm.
nice. So once a nonprofit is actually started, and they don't have any
Oh, right.
funds, you know, right? What do they have to do?
Then you have to build it from scratch, right? So that's where the hard part comes in. So like earlier when Linda was saying about the grants, and and so basically it's like the good news, we're approved for the grant. Bad news, we're approved for the grant because now the real work begins. And the same thing with starting a business, whether that business is a for-profit or a nonprofit. The real work in building that business from scratch begins. And that's the most difficult part. And a lot of people, if they have a partner, like the two of you are so lucky to have each other. Um, if you have at least one other person to share in that journey, it makes it much easier. It makes it much easier. So a lot of
Yeah,
times people try to do it by themselves, and it becomes very, not the best, to be quite honest, which is very isolating. They're not quite sure what to do, and then they get very discouraged. And then the next thing you know, that passion that they had to want to help the community, it goes on the wayside because their energy and motivation is depleted because they're trying to do it by themselves. So I definitely suggest get a partner, get a friend, get at least one other person that you can bounce ideas off of. Build your knowledge, right? So much of what NPLI has to offer beyond our services helps people to build their knowledge, to learn the business side of nonprofit management.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Trina, that's so funny that you said that we're lucky. Back to the therapy part again, but,
Yeah.
it is fortunate that we have each other and we're really passionate and we're on the same page. So really, if you do find a partner, you both have to be passionate about the mission of your nonprofit.
Yeah.
And what we've learned when working together is we recognize that we have to stay in our lane. And so, Eric does his part of the thing for the nonprofit. I do my part of the nonprofit. And sometimes it's like a gray area. But I remember one time you had us do an exercise of writing down everything that we do, like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how much time it takes. And so that's where we came up with, okay, stay in your lane, Eric, stay in your lane, Linda.
Yes.
And we got along much better. So that was another therapy session we had with you. So thank you.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
We
great.
remember. We're like students. We remember.
All
So,
right.
so another big question that we get a lot is why nonprofit versus for profit? What's your thoughts on that?
It comes down to money. to be quite honest with you. The biggest differences beyond just the on the surface, it really comes down to money. So it comes down to where the money to operate can come from and what can happen, what can be done with the money once it's received in the company's bank account. Okay. So with a
Yeah.
nonprofit, oftentimes the deciding factor as to should we do a nonprofit or a for-profit. One of the questions is what services are we going to provide, and could the people that are going to be receiving these services would it be reasonable for them to pay fair market value for that service? If it's not reasonable for them to pay fair market value for that service, then most likely you probably want to do a nonprofit. But if it is reasonable for them to pay fair market value, then you probably want to look at a for-profit because that's kind of, with a nonprofit organization, you have access to additional sources of funding. It's not guaranteed, of course, but you have access to at least apply for grants, for instance. And those grants are to really ideally supplement the things that the true beneficiaries cannot pay out of their own pocket. So childcare or after school program, that sort of thing for low income children. And then it comes down to what can the nonprofit or the company do with the money once they receive it in. So for a for-profit, they can do whatever they want to. They can take that $100 and they can do whatever they want to do with it. A nonprofit has a lot of restrictions
Mm-hmm.
as to what they can do with their money. So for
Wow.
people that are not crazy about restrictions, that would be another deciding um, item for them to say, you know what, maybe I just might not want to do a nonprofit because I don't want people to tell me what I can and cannot do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's really good, and it, really made me think because if you have an idea and you want to help a certain type of person or clientele, right? You can't start a for-profit in an underserved area because there may not have funds to pay for the services that you offer. So you want to be able to offer these services for free
Yes,
to or very reduced price
yes,
for a certain, uh, I guess, underserved population.
You
absolutely.
know, another big myth or a myth is that when you hear nonprofit, I think some people think that nonprofits are broke or they like everything's, like they don't have any money. But what do you say about that?
Nonprofit does not mean no money. Absolutely not. It's just not true. It's just not true. A nonprofit organization, it just simply means that making money is not their primary purpose, but they absolutely must, not should, not could, but must have stream of income to come in to cover its expenditures, the expenses to operate, and to have a surplus, which a
Hmm.
surplus is really just a profit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You can't disperse those profits to the founders, right? So at the end of the year, you guys can't say, "Hey, there's $200 in the bank. 100 for you, Eric, and 100 for me, Linda," like you could in
Yeah.
a for-profit. But the nonprofits, you can certainly get a salary, you can get reimbursed for any expenditures and that sort of things, any business-related stuff, absolutely. But the profits do not get dispersed to an individual. But to your point, Linda, absolutely, gotta have money, absolutely, gotta have.
Yeah, I believe look, Goodwill is a nonprofit, right? And
Oh,
I'm sure they pay their executive director or CEO a nice salary,
yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean, that's how I you. you can make a nice salary too on your nonprofit, how you disperse the money in salary wise.
So I guess what you're saying is you need to be a profitable nonprofit.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You're so smart.
Yeah,
Yes,
there we go. You want to set
that's
yourself
exactly what
up
I'm
to be
saying.
a
I
profitable
mean, think about
nonprofit.
the credit unions. They are nonprofits. I'm a
Yes.
member of the state credit union. Um, you know, they're in business, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. And absolutely, they're not. They're running a very profitable business, and they are a
Definitely.
nonprofit organization. So yeah, Eric, you hit it on the head. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
and
that.
and
Can I use
the
that?
Yeah, it's yours.
the other thing, the other entity is the church. Like,
Oh,
oh my goodness, you have classes or something that you offer to the churches, and I believe the churches need it. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it around what you offer for churches, because churches are like a business too. I mean,
yeah.
however they deliver the word and whatever they believe in, is one part, but you still have to maintain it as a business as well. Or right? Am I right about that? Or what do you
You
have to
are
say about that?
You are 100% correct. And I'm so glad you brought that up because churches are actually, we probably have more church clients than any other type of nonprofit. So we work more with churches than we probably do with anyone else. That hasn't always been the case, but currently, if we looked at our client list, and yeah, more churches. So we do the formation for the churches, we do the compliance services for the churches, and all of our other products that certainly the ones that we just launched this year, like with the association and the online education academy, it's also for churches and it's helping them to um, build a stronger, more effective administrative side of the church, handling the church business. So yes, we
Yeah.
actually have a course that's called I think it's a church business management, and it
Wow.
talks about the management of the church's business because it is, in fact, a church that absolutely should be profitable. Absolutely. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
mean, and you, so you offer all kinds of training in that industry. How would somebody, I guess, if they wanted to start a nonprofit or get some type of training, what's the best way to contact you for that?
The best way is to either email me directly or give me a call. And I'm more than happy to give them a free consultation, no charge whatsoever. And it wouldn't even be about trying to sell them anything, but more about figuring out where they are, where they're trying to get to, and what services either my company has or some other company that may have. That would be the idea is to just walk the, just try to figure out where they are, where they're trying to get to, and any assistance that I may provide. And sometimes it's just a matter of enlightenment that they'll
Yeah.
receive.
Cool. Good.
So I have one more question. COVID, it has hit everybody. How has COVID affected your business, and what are you doing um, to pivot?
Oh boy. So I'm an introvert. So I enjoy my
What?
alone time. But even I'm getting tired of my alone time. Business wise, my employees, I think, are getting a little antsy. They're ready to go back to the office. We haven't quite let them come back to the office yet. And what we've done over these past 8, 7 months or so is create these different new divisions of the company, like the National Association of Community Professionals, like the Community Business Academy, and the Community Marketplace. So these are three new divisions that we've taken our time to develop, and we would not have been able to do it had it not been for the situation, the COVID-19 situation that really set us down and reduced the in-person interactions. And so that's really what COVID-19 has done for us. It's allowed us to take the time to develop new, more innovative products and services for the public charities, churches, and chambers of commerce that we work with.
Wow. So that's really good. And, I think a lot of people are using their time wisely in creating new ideas. I mean, us, for example, we didn't think about a live show. And so COVID
Love the
is
show. Right.
creating some innovative ways to help others to continue to strive and build. So that's really good. So communityprofessionals.net is where people can find resources for the nonprofit industries, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All of those business templates. And when I say business templates, I'm talking about nonprofit business templates. Okay. You can build camaraderie with other community professionals. There's teaching tools in there. There's professional development tools for executive directors, the officers, the presidents.
No,
So
you
yeah,
have to ask where. Sorry.
Yeah, yes, so good. All right, good. So, what would you tell, I guess, an entrepreneur looking to start a nonprofit? And I know you mentioned kind of the process. What would be maybe that first step, of like creating the idea or mission or vision or anything like that?
figure out where the money's going to come from.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. Where's the
Yeah.
money? Show me the money.
Yeah. Where will the
Yeah.
money come from? How, all of the best ideas in the world are just wonderful and just caring. And if it's just a matter of this person wanting to help, let's say, a homeless community,
Hmm.
you don't have to start a nonprofit to do that. You can actually go and volunteer or apply to be an employee of an existing organization. So you don't have to start it from scratch just because you identify a need within the community. But if you do want to go that extra step and start your own nonprofit business, one of the first things you're going to ask the person to do is start figuring out where the money's going to come from. How will the nonprofit become financially sustainable?
Wow, that's really good. Yeah,
Uh,
because like you said, you apply for one grant and then you run out of money, but you don't have any type of stream of income to provide that nonprofit. It can just wipe you out.
yeah, yeah, it really can. But yeah, and that's for a lot of people, just working in an existing nonprofit will actually provide them with the behind the scenes observation and awareness and enlightenment that they may not have gotten otherwise. And sometimes that's really all they need to do is just take a sneak peek and see what somebody else is doing. And that may actually
Mhm.
help them make a decision that, hey, you know what, I don't really think I want to do this myself. And for some people, they're like, you know what, I went and I volunteered over there. They're doing it all wrong. I got to start my own today. So
Yeah,
yeah, do that. Absolutely.
that's a really good idea. I mean, if you want to start a nonprofit, find one that's similar and go work for them and volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get to learn the behind the scenes insights. Start taking notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I've done that. I've worked for a couple nonprofits and built my relationship and understood because I didn't take a college course or anything on how to start a nonprofit. Eric had this great idea about, hey, let's help kids learn computers. And I was like, well, how are we going to do that? Oh, we're going to start a nonprofit. I'm like, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So it was definitely a learning curve for us to um, start a nonprofit, but that is great advice. Work for a nonprofit and see, if this is something you really want to do. You get the inside of it. But that's great. And you did help us with the stream of income. So that's another thing that you helped
yeah.
us with as well. on top of the million other things that you've done for Uni too, is that you helped us develop a stream of income so that when the grants do, when they do get paid out, we have other ways to generate income for our nonprofit. So that was another thing. And then the other thing, oh my gosh, I'm going to just list them all, is that keeping compliant with the nonprofit. And that's so very key, making sure you do all your filings. And so that's another, offering that you helped us with NPLI. You have to make sure you register and you have the dates, and it's like automatic. And I get these emails that say, "Hey, did you file your 990?" And I know you have a list of them, so
Yes.
I love that. It's so because we're doing other things. We're working in our nonprofit, and when you're like Eric and I, we need some type of reminders, and so it's like I'm doing this live show and I'm still answering the front desk saying, "Hey, we don't have a key." So I mean, but help, that extra help is very helpful.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I wanted to do that one because we were finding that the nonprofits that we were helping to start up, we would just kind of leave, not leave them totally, but there was no compliance service that we had at that time. So once we started the compliance service about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it needed to be something streamlined so that it could be affordable. And once we were able to create that process, they were like, okay, here you go, $199 a year, and we will go in and check your status and send you an audit report and help you with the filing, to provide you with those reminders. So I'm glad you guys are finding it useful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You've definitely been a huge resource for us. And even for those of you who are thinking about starting a nonprofit, or you just need somebody to bounce your ideas off of, contact Trina. Her information is in the chat. Her contact information, her phone number is right there. It'll be in the chat along with her email. And we just want to thank you for being a part of our show and sharing so much valuable information to those who watch us. And now, even when they ask about starting a nonprofit, I'm going to send them right to this video.
Yeah.
Any
Right.
last words you'd like to share with our viewers?
I just want to thank the two of you and every other community professionals that's out there doing awesome stuff for their community and smiling throughout the ups and downs. So thank you, and thank all of you other community professionals that are out there taking care of the community. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Trina. We thank you for being part of our show and did a great job. And I know you got more work to do
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
So we'll be sending you some more referrals.
Please do. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Have a great
thank
rest
you.
of your day.